Chapter 365. After discussing the matter of the 5 Kages summit, AI suddenly remembered that he hadn't exchanged information with the other party yet. Brother Shushi, is there any connection between the hollow and the Akatsuki I just mentioned? There shouldn't be, Garashi said. The hollow organization I found doesn't seem to be interested in ordinary people. Most of their members have strange physiques or Kekiai Genkai. Is that so? How strong are they? I asked with great interest. Very strong. Especially the person I met who is suspected to be the leader. Garashi said with a dignified expression. His strength is not weaker than mine. What? Not weaker than you? AI was shocked. Garashi nodded solemnly. Well, maybe even stronger than me. AI's eyes were blank. He only felt that the shinobi world suddenly became strange. The Akatsuki appeared out of nowhere. But how come there is an even more terrifying hollow organization? Could it be that they have been living in the surface world all this time? They have never been exposed to the truth of the world. Dodai took a deep breath and barely calmed down the shock in his heart. There is such a terrifying organization. It's really unimaginable. It's precisely because there is a huge threat behind the peace of the shinobi world that I want to say, Garashi said earnestly. Don't waste your strength on meaningless internal friction. AI knew that Garashi was referring to the matter of them fanning the flames behind the scenes. He couldn't help but laugh twice. Haha, of course. Yunin has always been responsible for maintaining peace. Garashi shook his head slightly. In short, I will trouble you with the 5 Kage summit. AI was puzzled. You don't plan to participate? If I also go, your plan to lure the snake out of the hole will not succeed, Garashi said helplessly. That's true. AI nodded and said. After Garashi left, AI asked with a heavy face. Dodai, what do you think of the hollow organization he just mentioned? With Shimizu Garashi's strength, he can do whatever he wants. There is no need to fabricate a hollow organization to deceive us. Dodai pondered. Moreover, before we noticed the Akatsuki, didn't we also think that the forces on the surface of the shinobi world were all the forces in the world? However, if they can make Shimizu Garashi hesitate, this hidden organization is really terrible. AI said in a deep voice. Dodai nodded heavily. Although Shimizu Garashi is powerful, he is, after all, within the rules. As long as he doesn't do too much, his strength won't have much impact on us. But this hollow organization that suddenly appeared is different. These secret organizations have always been unscrupulous. Have no scruples. They can do anything. Especially the person Shimizu Shushi mentioned who can rival him. If that person wantonly kills, we won't be able to resist. We can only pray for Shimizu Shushi's protection and form a group under his leadership. Only then can we survive. AI's face was gloomy. If it really comes to that point, are we still Yunin? Call Shimizu Garashi. From today onwards, I will start extreme training. Since there is someone other than Shimizu Garashi who can do it, it means that this is a field that humans can reach. Walking out of Yunin village, Garashi thought about the hollow organization he just mentioned and thought it was a little funny. This organization does exist, but the problem is that the entire organization is made up of old, weak, sick, and disabled people. Except for Aizen, no one can fight. Of course, it's not wrong to say that they are strong. Aizen alone is enough to suppress any force. However, it's not time for Aizen to make a move yet. This time, I will let them stir up the water for me. When he left Yunin village, Aizen came to a space full of bubbles and spring water. There were many giant crabs guarding this space. This space was created by the Otsutsuki clan on the moon, connecting the shinobi world and the moon together. Although it's not the first time I've come here, every time I see this strange scene, I'm shocked from the bottom of my heart. Aizen sighed as he walked. With his mastery of the flying thunder god jutsu, it's not difficult for him to cross space, but it's still too far to go from the shinobi world to the moon. But Hamura was able to open a space channel that is still stable even after thousands of years. This kind of attainment in space is really amazing. Under the respectful salute of the surrounding crab guards, Aizen crossed the channel and arrived on the moon again. As soon as he set foot on the moon, he felt an inexplicable throbbing. It's starting again. Aizen looked at his feet with a dignified expression. Fortunately, I used the Ryamayaka chakra as the shell for the jubi. If I used the Geto Mazo, I'm afraid that the moment I set foot on the moon, Kagaya's consciousness would have been awakened. Suddenly, a slight sobbing sound came from not far away. Unlike the moon in his previous life, the moon in this world is the product of sealing Kagaya. Its gravity is quite strong. Not only is there oxygen for breathing, but also sound can be transmitted through the air. Following the direction of the sound, Aizen walked over. Behind a rock, a 4 or 5-year-old boy was crying in a low voice. If you look carefully, you can see that the boy's eye sockets are empty. He doesn't even have eyeballs. Tonari, why are you crying here alone? Hearing this gentle voice, Tonari stopped crying and shouted in surprise. Aizen-sama, you came to see us again? Yes, I'm done with the things below. Aizen leaned down and touched the boy's head gently. Can you tell me why you're crying? Hearing Aizen's words, Tonari was depressed again and didn't speak. Aizen patiently accompanied him and didn't urge him. After a long time, Tonari clenched his small fist and asked, Aizen-sama, do you have eyes? Aizen said softly, I do. Tonari asked again, what about everyone on the ground? Do they also have eyes? Aizen nodded. Normally they all have eyes. But why don't I? Father took me to the world below. There were many people in the world below. It wasn't like the moon where there was only me and Father. Their world was very warm and lively. I wanted to join them, but the other children said that I was an eyeless monster, and even threw stones at me. I didn't do anything wrong. Why don't they like me? What you need is a bowl of hot chicken soup for the soul. Aizen thought and comforted. Everyone has flaws, just like an apple bitten by God. Some people have bigger flaws, because God likes their fragrance. Tonari had never drunk such chicken soup before. He blushed and asked helplessly. I really, because it's so sweet. Of course it's true, you're the special one. Chapter 366. A child's sorrow came and went quickly. Tonari quickly forgot about his pain and asked happily, Ai-sama, are you here to see my father? Aizen smiled. Actually, I'm here to see you. Of course, I need to discuss this matter with your father. I don't understand. Tonari tilted his head. Anyway, let's go see my father first. After that, Tonari pulled Aizen's hand and walked towards the castle. As he walked, he chattered nonstop. After entering the castle, many puppets appeared around them. Unlike Sand Crypsis, which required chakra to control, these puppets didn't need to be controlled. They even had artificial intelligence. When they saw Tonari, the puppets stopped what they were doing and bowed respectfully. They entered the castle without any obstructions. There was a middle-aged man, who looked very refined sitting at the long dining table. However, his face was a little pale, and his eyes were as empty as Emo Ren's. Tonari, where are you going? The middle-aged man suddenly stopped and asked respectfully, Ai-sama, are you here? Kirito, your heart is getting better and better. Aizen praised with a smile. You're too kind. It's just a small improvement. Kirito said modestly. Naturally, he remembered how shocked he was when this man suddenly appeared in front of him 2 years ago. He even walked in calmly without any reaction from the ancestral barrier. From that moment on, he knew this man had reached a height he couldn't reach. Fortunately, this man came with good intentions. Tonari couldn't help but share. Father, Ai-sama said we're all very fragrant apples. Kirito was confused. How did he become an apple? Seeing Kirito's confused expression, Aizen told him what happened. When he heard Tonari crying outside, Kirito crouched down and gently stroked his head. I'm sorry, Tonari. Father neglected your feelings. Lee Run was a little embarrassed. I thought you would blame me, Father. I remember you said before that a man shouldn't cry. You still remember? Kirito had a complicated expression on his face. At that time, he thought that he wouldn't be able to live much longer. He was worried that Norihito would be overwhelmed by loneliness. That was why he often told Norihito to be strong. Fortunately, Sir Aizen gave me a second chance at life. Thinking of this, Kirito stood up and said gratefully, Aizen-sama, I'm really sorry for troubling you. You don't need to be like this. Aizen smiled. I also like such a smart and excellent child. Hearing Aizen Sama praise him like this, Norihito was both happy and shy. Right, Lord Aizen? Kirito suddenly started coughing like crazy. Aizen quickly took out a small piece of dark green, ore and crushed it. He then channeled a large amount of life force into Kirito's body. Only then did his coughing abate a little. Father, are you alright? Li Ren asked worriedly. It's fine. I'm used to it. Kirito shook his head. Is there no cure? Aizen frowned. It's because of my constitution. It can't be changed. Kirito smiled bitterly. In fact, there was something he didn't say out loud. This should be the punishment ancestor Hamura gave us for misinterpreting the will of the heavens. Their branch family was originally a branch family. They relied on the Tensigen to create the Byakugan, to destroy the main family. They thought it was a victory, but it turned out to be the beginning of a nightmare. Those ancestors who dug out their own Byakugan couldn't give birth to any more Byakugans. It was as if they were cursed. Their branch was born without eyes. Their bodies also suffered from all kinds of strange diseases. In the end, the once prosperous branch family was reduced to only the two of them. Fortunately, Norihito's body is fine. Not only is there no problem, but he also inherited Hamura's powerful constitution. Kirito looked at Aizen with longing eyes. It must be because Sir Aizen's arrival brought us new ideas. We were saved and forgiven by Hamura. Even if it's for Norihito, as his father, I must show enough value. I can't let Norihito be abandoned by Sir Aizen. Thinking of this, Kirito pretended to be strong. Sir Aizen, you don't have to worry about me. This small problem won't affect me. Aizen pondered. I've heard about your clan's experience. Since the cause is the loss of the Byakugan, why don't you try to regain the Byakugan? Regain the Byakugan? Yes, why didn't I think about it? Kirito shouted in surprise. Aizen smiled slightly. He could understand the thoughts of Kirito and his ancestors. In his memory of his previous life, the War of the Shinobi World was jokingly called the Five Village War. But there were different ideas. But from the beginning to the end, there was only one Otsutsuki clan on the moon. Such a closed environment caused the clan to worship their ancestors fanatically. Even Norihito's reason for wanting to destroy the world in the original story was to follow Hamura's will. He didn't have his own understanding and thoughts. Of course, when the branch family was cursed, they didn't look for a solution at all. Instead, they obediently accepted their fate and accepted Hamura's punishment. Norihito cheered. Great father, your illness can finally be cured. Why does this sound strange? Kirito shook his head and put the strange thoughts behind him. Not necessarily, it's just a possibility. And if we regain the Byakugan, do we have to go to the lower world and borrow a pair of Byakugan from our distant relatives? It's not that troublesome. Aizen smiled. Didn't you say that the Grand Tensigen worshipped in the lookout was formed by the fusion of countless Byakugan? Kirito asked in horror. Do you want to separate several pairs of Byakugan from the Grand Tensigen? Aizen nodded. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. Kirito hesitated. But wouldn't this be disrespectful to Hamura? Aizen smiled. With your ancestor's tolerance, would he care about such a trivial matter? Killing each other for power is the greatest disrespect to him, isn't it? And with Norihito's talent, only by separating the purest Byakugan from the Grand Tensigen will he not be a burden. Hearing that it would help Norihito, Kirito finally made up his mind. Okay, let's go to the lookout. Chapter 367. In the artificial sun, there are floating islands everywhere. Hamura's lookout is located on one of the spherical floating islands. Under Kirito's guidance, the three of them successfully ascended the shrine. Our clan has 2 shrines. One is on the surface. It enshrines the Tensigen that was born after our ancestors fused with the Byakugan. However, the Tensigen has lost its activity. It is a place for the servants to worship. Kirito explained as they walked. The shrine we are entering now is the one that truly belongs to Hamura. It is a place where the Tensigen is enshrined. Usually, it is sealed with a barrier that interferes with perception. Only the truly noble are qualified to worship it. Kirito, I'm sorry, but I have something to ask. Looking at the walls that seem to be filled with magma, and the bloody bubbles floating in the air, Aizen asked curiously, "Why is Himura's shrine like this?" When he saw it in his previous life, he didn't feel it, but now that he was walking in it, he felt strange. Especially the ground under his feet. It felt like he was stepping on a carpet made of flesh and blood. It was soft and a little disgusting. "I'm not very sure. I don't dare to guess about our ancestors, but..." Kirito smiled and said, "When I entered the shrine when I was a child, I heard the elders of the clan say that this passage is like a blood vessel." Aizen nodded slightly. Indeed, this was the same as his first impression. The shape of this spherical temple is very much like an eye, with the addition of these blood vessels, as well as the Grand Tensigen in the central area as the eye. The overall image is exactly the appearance of a giant eye. If I'm not wrong, Otsutsuki Himura. No, let's not rush to a conclusion. Once we see the Tensigen, we will know the answer. With this thought, Aizen followed Kirito into the center area. There were light golden orbits around it, just like celestial bodies orbiting the sun. In the center of these orbits, there was a giant Tensigen emitting endless light and heat. Although Kirito Shuren couldn't see it, what he perceived with his mind's eye was enough to make him feel proud. This was the treasure of the Otsutsuki clan, the most powerful force of the Otsutsuki clan. But Aizen didn't share their sentiments. Looking at the center of the Grand Tensigen shining like a golden sun, his pupils suddenly shrank. Under the surface of this sunlight, there was an incomparably terrifying evil. As Kirito Tonari was much weaker than him, he could only see the surface. However, he could see countless living eyes moving around and looking at them. Those supercilious eyes were alive. Think about it, a giant eyeball monster made up of countless eyes. Those eyes could move and even look at you at the same time. What a strange scene it would be. If someone with trypophobia saw this, they would most likely faint from fright. Fortunately, the eyeballs seemed to have sensed Kirito Naruto's bloodline. The white eyes only glanced at them for a moment, before returning to their chaotic state. As expected, this is demon power. Aizen sighed. Wang Liang had once told him that the power of demons was the power of their physical bodies. Every part of their bodies contained their own will. Just like how Linga took a piece of meat and made it into a ring for Aizen, Wang Liang's body could split into smaller Wang Liang after being cut off. Every part of a demon's body contained their own will. The eyeballs in front of them were the same. The white eyes also contained their own will. But the difference was that the will didn't belong to Himura. It belonged to the original owner of the white eyes. The Tensigen that was born after the fusion of the Byakugan turned into a stone pupil after a long time. But the Grand Tensigen, that has experienced far longer, than it has been able to remain active. I originally thought that it was Himura's power that kept the Grand Tensigen active. But now it seems that Himura is using his Tensigen as the core, trying to merge the strongest demon that can contain countless eyes. It's because this eyeball monster is alive that it can remain active after such a long time. The spherical shell is its cornea, the bloody passage is its blood vessels, and the huge Tensigen is its eyeball. And we are now inside its body. Thinking of this, Aizen's thoughts diverged. In the original story, after the Grand Tensigen was destroyed, these scattered white eyes attached to Tonari, trying to pollute him into a new demon. It's clear that these white eyes do have their own will. In fact, Kirito and the other clansmen were born without eyes. Maybe it's also its doing. It was worried that the new Tensigen created by Otsutsuki's fusion with the Byakugan would replace its position and steal its power. So it secretly influenced their bloodline. But the question is, how did Naruto break it in the future? If the Grand Tensigen has its own will, it's impossible for Naruto to do it with his strength at that time. Anyway, I have to be careful when I separate them. When Aizen was lost in thought, Kirito proudly introduced. Aizen, Sama, this is the most precious power that Himura left to us. This power is strong enough to move the moon. Aizen sighed. Moving the moon, that's amazing. Of course, because our ancestor was the god who saved the world, Kirito proudly declared, but immediately felt a little disappointed. It's a pity that we can't inherit the glory of our ancestors. Instead, we are reduced to the point of disappearing from this world. Aizen laughed. But I believe that Tonari will become the one who rewrites Otsutsuki's fate. Kirito nodded heavily. I believe so too. Tonari was embarrassed by the praise and shyly changed the topic. Aizen-sama, can you treat my father now? Aizen said with a gentle smile. Wait a moment. Let me carefully observe this Grand Tensigen. It won't be easy to separate the Byakugan from it. Kirito nodded repeatedly. Aizen-sama, please observe first. I'm not in a hurry. Aizen nodded slightly and continued to observe the Grand Tensigen. Did Himura learn about Otsutsuki's family from Kagaya? That's why he came up with the idea of creating the strongest demon after settling on the moon. But it's really interesting. The mother is a god, the elder brother is a sage, and the younger brother is a demon. Except for Kurohei, who only wants to split the moon to save his mother. This family really walked the path of this world to the extreme. Obviously, all three of them realized that it was impossible to defeat the Otsutsuki clan, who had been on this path for thousands of years, with the power of Otsutsuki alone. To deal with the threat from the depths of the stars, they must find a way to open a new path. So is this Grand Tensigen a backup plan for Himura? Aizen was a little troubled. Chapter 368. Just like the Ghetto Demon statue, because he suspected that there was a back door left by the six paths, he always stayed away from it. Even if there was a chance to take it, he would never force it. However, there was still a difference between the two. Speaking of fear, he was far less afraid of Himura than Hagoromo. Looking at their performance, Hagoromo could easily give Naruto and Sasuke 2 parts of chakra after death. But Himura needed Naruto's power to deal with the threat of destroying the world. In Aizen's view, the two of them were like Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. They seemed to be on the same level, but in fact, the gap between them was quite big. Naruto broke the Grand Tensigen. It's not too much for me to take a few pairs of your Byakugan, right? Aizen said with a dignified expression. Atsuki-san, I didn't mean to offend you, but I really don't want to see the clan that once saved the world disappear like this. If you still have a soul, please let me successfully take back the Byakugan. This wasn't from the heart, but respect for the old man who once saved the world. His organization was full of old, weak, sick, and disabled people. He was a good person who respected the old and loved the young. His organization was also a welfare organization that took in the weak. Aizen-sama, an outsider's chakra can't touch the Grand Tensigen. Please use my chakra. Kirito reminded him. Then I'll trouble you. Aizen put his right hand on Kirito's shoulder, then condensed a chakra hand, and slowly approached the center area. Although he couldn't see, Tonari's mind's eye was carefully perceiving everything around him. Perceiving the chakra hand approaching the Grand Tensigen, he was so nervous that his breathing became rapid. You must succeed. As he prayed in a low voice, the chakra hand merged into the Grand Tensigen, fumbled for a moment, and then grabbed a few pairs of Byakugan that were emitting light and heat. Success! Tonari cheered. But at this moment the Grand Tensigen, which had been calm, suddenly became violent. The materialized chakra surged like the sea, and the surrounding space was faintly distorted. The ground under their feet also seemed to have a life of its own, letting out ear-piercing screams. We're in trouble. Big Eyeball went berserk. Aizen whispered. He wasn't worried about himself. Not to mention that his life force level was extremely high. Even the composition of his body was chakra. To be more precise, he was nothing more than a body of energy. There was no concept of him being killed. What was truly troublesome was rescuing Kirito and Tonari safely. Although this part of space has become very chaotic, fortunately, this body of mine has part of the characteristics of the dragon bloodline chakra. It is abnormally compatible with space-time. I should be able to forcefully travel through space. However, just as he was about to use the flying thunder god technique to escape, he noticed that the violent movements of the huge eyeball had suddenly calmed down. Everything returned to tranquility. If not for the fact that the Byakugan in his hand was still emitting light and heat, he would have thought that the riot was just an illusion. As expected of Aizen-sama, even the violent movements of the Grand Tensigen were calmed down. Kirito breathed a sigh of relief. Although he couldn't see, he could feel the thrill just now. Aizen-sama is too powerful. Tonari raised his small hand and cheered. However, Aizen looked ahead in surprise. He clearly knew that the calmness of the huge eyeball had nothing to do with him. It was as if there was an invisible hand helping him in the dark. Is it Otsutsuki Himura? Aizen couldn't help but guess. In the original manga, Naruto was able to break the Grand Tenseigan because Himura secretly helped him. But why would Himura do this? Even if he wanted to stop Tonari from destroying the world, with his authority over the Grand Tenseigan, he should be able to remove Tonari's control over the Grand Tenseigan, right? Or is he so weak that the Grand Tenseigan can counteract him? Aizen thought back to the original manga, where Himura said before his death, "If the world created by my brother deviates from the right path, I will destroy that world." Aizen guessed that Himura was most likely contaminated like Kagaya. How can a decent person say something like destroying the world if they go the wrong way? Shouldn't they be corrected? Obviously, at that time, Himura was already contaminated like his mother, but one was eroded by the mind, and the other was contaminated by the will of the body. After Himura's death, his remaining chakra gradually recovered from the contaminated state, but because of this, his strength was greatly reduced, and he could only slightly affect the authority of the Grand Tenseigan. Aizen guessed, but he shook his head. But it's still not right. If the Grand Tenseigan was really a weapon left by Himura to fight against the Otsutsuki clan, then he didn't need to make such a decision. As long as he summoned the will of the Six Paths, with the strength of the Six Paths, it should be easy to solve his problem, unless there is an existence in the shinobi world that even the Six Paths is afraid of. Thinking of this, Aizen's eyes became brighter and brighter. He deliberately divided the power of the Six Paths to Naruto and Sasuke, and didn't even participate in the final battle. Maybe it was to show weakness to the enemy. The reason why Himura didn't summon the Six Paths, even if it would destroy his 1,000 years of work, is probably to create the illusion that the Six Paths is indeed weak. Aizen's speculation wasn't without reason. Although he didn't pay much attention to the story of the manga, he still heard about the new Otsutsuki in the final movie. Could it be that the Otsutsuki clan has been lurking in this world since the end of the Fourth Shinobi World War? Thinking of this, Aizen's heart became heavy. I thought that I would have at least 30 years, but now it seems that half of that time is not bad. My strength is still improving too slowly. Aizen-sama, let's go out quickly, Kirito said with a worried look. I don't know if the Grand Tenseigan will riot a second time. Since we have got what we want, there is no point in staying here. Let's go. Aizen took a deep look at the giant Tenseigan and turned around decisively. After the three left, the lookout temple became quiet again. Suddenly, an old figure with a long horn on his head walked out of the giant Tenseigan. Looking at the direction where Aizen and the others left, the old man muttered to himself. This man seems to have the aura of the Jubi and natural chakra. Did my brother notice that something was wrong with me and sent him to save me? Muttering to himself, the old figure shook his head. It's a pity that I can't contact my brother yet. The enemy may be watching us in the dark. I have waited for 1,000 years, I can't let anything go wrong. Thinking of this, the old figure returned to the Grand Tenseigan. Chapter 369. They left the temple and returned to the castle. Kirito was patient, but Tonari couldn't wait any longer. Aizen-sama, are we going to start the treatment? Aizen smiled and said, let's start now. Although Kirito was calm, he was excited. Even if the disease couldn't be cured, it was good to see the world clearly. Aizen first erased the consciousness of the Byakugan, then gently placed the Byakugan into Kirito's eye sockets. For the Ninja World's plug-and-play eye system, there is no need for too complicated surgery to continue to use the installed eye. Kirito murmured and gently opened his eyes. So this is what the world looks like. Then he looked down at Tonari, as if he wanted to engrave Tonari's appearance in his heart. Tonari couldn't help but ask, Father, is your disease cured? My illness? Kirito checked his body and sighed. It's still not working. Hearing his father's sigh, Tonari's mood suddenly dropped. But when he heard his father's sigh, his hope was reignited. "Father, what's wrong?" These Byakugan seem to be different from the Byakugan recorded by our ancestors. They just absorbed a ray of light. Kirito was shocked. Moreover, these Byakugan seem to have some kind of reaction with the chakra in my body. It's transforming, and the disease's spread has been stopped. Aizen wasn't surprised by this. In his previous life, it was mentioned that after the Great Tensigen was broken, the Byakugan could absorb sunlight. Even the pattern in Tonari's Tensigen eyes was the shape of the sun. Wow, that's great. Tonari didn't care about the transformation. He was happy to hear that the disease's spread was stopped. Kirito's transformation didn't last long, and it soon stopped. When he opened his eyes again, they were brighter than before. So it's still the Byakugan? Aizen wasn't surprised by this result. Even if he deliberately chose the purest Byakugan, it was almost impossible for Kirito's bloodline to transform into the Tensigen. Kirito didn't even think about the Tensigen. After perceiving the changes in his eyes, he said excitedly, "My eyes! Yes, this must be the Scorching Sun Byakugan, recorded in the ancestral records." White Sun Byakugan. Aizen was surprised. Kirito nodded heavily. It's the evolved form of the ordinary Byakugan. It must be the power of the Grand Tensigen that transformed the original Byakugan. Is it on the same level as the Manjikyu Sharingan? Aizen asked with great interest. "Kirito, what abilities do your eyes have now?" Kirito explained. "My left eye's ability is Heavenly Venerate. Within 1 minute after I use it, all damage I receive will be nullified. The cooldown is 10 minutes. If I can absorb a large amount of sunlight in a short period of time, the cooldown can be shortened. 1 minute of invincibility." Aizen raised his eyebrows. Just looking at the description, it might be similar to Izanagi's 3-Tomo Sharingan. But Izanagi's Sharingan is too expensive. Even if he kills all the Uchiha members, the Sharingan he gets will only last for a few minutes. It's far inferior to Heavenly Venerate, which can be used repeatedly, and can even reduce the cooldown. Kirito continued. As for the right eye, its ability is called Calamity Sun God, which can bring bad luck to the target. If both eyes are opened at the same time, it will summon Susanu's male life. Kirito himself wasn't satisfied with the first two abilities. One was specialized in taking hits, and the other one was a god. They didn't have a strong offensive ability. Fortunately, Susanu seemed to be very strong. But for Aizen, he didn't care about Susanu at all. In fact, he was only asking for fun from the beginning. With his current strength, whether it's Manjikyu Sharingan or White Sun Byakugan, this level of ability is of little help to him. If it's Rinnegan or Tensigen, it would be more useful. However, Kirito's eyes gave him a pleasant surprise. The Calamity Sun God can bring bad luck to the target. This ability is something he has never heard of in the history of the shinobi world. Compared to powerful attacks, Aizen is more optimistic about this auxiliary ability. If he can use it well, maybe it can play a certain role in a battle at his level. Thinking of this, Aizen asked, "Kirito, is there any limit to the Calamity Sun God?" Kirito didn't expect Aizen to ask about the least optimistic ability, so he was stunned for a moment and hurriedly said, "After using the Calamity Sun God, a gray light will shoot out from the right eye. It will only take effect if the target is hit. The duration is 1 hour, and it can only be used again after a month." Aizen nodded slightly and thought to himself, if it's only effective if the target is hit, then it's just right to use the first ability. I'll use invincibility to deceive the target, and then use the Calamity Sun God. After pondering for a moment, Aizen looked at Tonari with a smile. "Tonari, are you anxious?" Tonari nodded vigorously. "I really want to see Father and Aizen, Sama, with my own eyes." "Don't worry, you will see it soon." Aizen took out the purest Byakugan and put it in Tonari's eye sockets, then looked at Tonari's reaction. In the original timeline, Tonari used Hanabi's Byakugan and his own chakra to awaken the Tensigen. He deliberately chose the purest Byakugan in the past 1,000 years, so there's no reason it's not as good as Hanabi's. Under Aizen's expectant gaze and Kirito's nervous gaze, Tonari's Byakugan began to glow and change into another form. This is the Tensigen. Kirito shouted in disbelief. How is this possible? He awakened the Tensigen on his own, just like Himura's ancestor. The ancestor of the branch family fused with the Byakugan of the clan to evolve into the Tensigen. This chakra, Aizen was a little shocked. Is it the same level as Himura? Other than the fact that he doesn't have eyes, his body can be said to be pure wood. Uchiha Madara was strong, and he obtained Hashirama's cells. Finally, he awakened the Rinnegan in his later years. This is the best result that Black Zetsu got in the past 1,000 years. But Tonari transformed immediately after obtaining the Byakugan's eyes. If Black Zetsu knew about this talent, he would cry with envy. While both of them were shocked, Tonari suddenly covered his eyes and screamed, "Ah! It hurts!" The transformation of the Tensigen requires too much chakra, and your body can't support it? Aizen understood, and placed a seal on Tonari's body as quickly as possible. The pressure from the transformation of the Tensigen disappeared, and Tonari's body softened and fell into Kirito's arms. Chapter 370. Kirito quickly sensed Tonari's physical condition and breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he just fainted due to the lack of chakra. Of course, it was also thanks to Aizen's timely seal. Otherwise, it is not impossible for his chakra to be sucked dry and die. Kirito was relieved but also scared. I didn't expect this to happen when I just put Tonari's eyes on him. This was a problem that a mediocre person like him could never understand. Tonari's Byakugan began to transform into the Tensigen. This had never happened in the thousands of years of their clan's history. Aizen-sama, should I dig out Tonari's eyes? Kirito asked worriedly. Don't worry, Aizen said. I have sealed Tonari's eyes. Now he doesn't even have the most basic Byakugan ability. After that, Aizen added, of course he can still see the world as normal. Phew, that's good. Kirito was relieved. He didn't care whether Tonari had the Tensigen or not. As long as Tonari was safe and could see the world as a normal person, it was good enough. In addition, I also left a back door for the seal. Tonari's chakra will be used to nourish his eyes. Aizen pondered. As long as Tonari practices seriously, he should be able to unlock the seal in 7 or 8 years. Tonari is only 5 years old, that is to say. Kirito was shocked. He can awaken the Tensigen by the age of 13? Yes. Aizen nodded. This result shocked even him. A 13-year-old Suda-Rakuto level. After absorbing the power of the Grand Tensigen, he can even reach the real Rakuto level. This kind of talent is indeed enviable. In his opinion, the Tensigen should be on the same level as the Rinnegan. The reason why Tonari could be so strong in the original timeline was mostly because he absorbed the power of the Grand Tensigen. If I'm not wrong, Tonari should be the same as Naruto and Sasuke. But Himura, who chose him, was much worse than the Rakuto. He didn't have time to care about Tonari's growth. Aizen collected his thoughts and asked, by the way, Kirito, I think Sento is lonely on the moon. Do you mind if I bring some children to play with him? Of course I don't mind. I'm more than happy. Kirito sighed. Even if it's not because of the eyes, the moon's uniqueness means that Tensei can't play as much as other children. If the moon's secret is exposed, it will bring disaster to the world. But Sir Aizen, the people you brought can be trusted. Then I'll have to bother you. I also want to ask you for a favor, Aizen said. Yes, sir. If it weren't for you, I would have died 2 years ago, Kirito said resolutely. After some time, I want to borrow your body. After leaving the moon, Aizen went to Sasori's base. Compared to 3 years ago, this base had a strange aura. Other than the normal humans controlled by the subconscious brain, there were also mannequins that bowed to him respectfully. As expected of you, you really developed these humanoids. Aizen praised as they walked deeper into the base. He got these mannequins from Kirito 2 years ago. It took me 2 years to develop them. It's nothing to be proud of. Sasori said calmly. It's not the same. Aizen shook his head. Those mannequins were given life by a special ability. You gave them intelligence through pure puppetry. In terms of puppetry, you're much better than the person who created them. What's the use of being better? That person can use his own ability to easily do things that puppetry can't. Sasori said calmly. I only gave them low-level intelligence. They're much worse than the living mannequins. Okay, let's not talk about this. Aizen shook his head. I came here today to ask if the pacifists I asked for have been modified. You call those weapons pacifists? Is that your bad taste? Sasori shrugged and turned to walk inside. Come with me. Following behind Scorpion, the two of them quickly walked into a laboratory. There were 4 test beds with a mannequin lying on each bed. These 4 puppets are the strongest among the combat puppets you found for me. And after my transformation, their strength may be above the incomplete 3rd-generation Wind Shadow puppet. After saying that, Scorpion added, however, I have to remind you that although puppets with intelligence are more convenient than puppets controlled by traditional puppeteers, their intelligence can hardly support high-level battles. In terms of strength, they are not as good as puppets controlled by puppeteers. Don't worry, I'm prepared for this. Aizen took out the Shinigami's mask and summoned the souls of the 4. Phew, I'm suffocating. I can finally come out for some fresh air. We can't help it. We're ghosts. If we stay outside for too long, our souls will be sucked away by the underworld. This is... Looking at the 4 ghostly figures, Scorpion asked in astonishment. At this time, the Whirlpool F4 looked at Sasori. Hello, wait. Red hair. Hurry up and check his physique. Why is he a puppet? No, that's not right. His chest is flesh. Hiss, he can create chakra with such a small amount of flesh. It seems he's really... Sasori hated being judged by others. Since these 4 were summoned by Aizen, he suppressed his anger and asked, Who are you? Masaki said amiably, Don't be polite. Just call us ancestor. Rip. Sasori's face was cold. He chopped with his hand and Masaki's soul scattered like smoke. If you don't want to call me ancestor, you can call me grandpa. This time, Sasori's response was more direct. He took out a scroll and summoned hundreds of puppets. Amazing, the 4 demons were shocked. Even if they were alive, they wouldn't be a match for this young man. All of you calm down. Aizen released his soul pressure, and it seemed to freeze the space around him. The restless crowd quieted down. As expected of Aizen-sama, he's much stronger than before. The Whirlpool F4 sighed. They were only spirits left. Their soul cultivation was far inferior to a living person's. So strong. Just his soul alone is strong to this extent. Sasori was shocked. Sure enough, he didn't even use half of his strength when we fought 3 years ago. Chapter 371. After both sides, Sasori calmed down. Aizen said, We are all members of the Akatsuki. Let's not hurt each other. The Akatsuki. Sasori looked at the 4, and knew there was no such person in the Akatsuki. The Akatsuki you want me to join? They don't look very smart. Hearing this, Masaki and the others were very dissatisfied. Child, how can you talk like that? How can you talk about your ancestors like that? Aizen coughed. Most of the Uzumaki are straightforward. Uzumaki. Sasori looked at the 4 and asked, Is that the family that was destroyed because of the sealing technique? Shinichi let out a long sigh. Yes, we are the same as you. We are all from the Uzumaki clan. Sasori said coldly, Don't put me in a relationship with you. Excuse me, but is your surname Uzumaki? Is there an Uzumaki among your elders? Masaki asked. Sasori replied indifferently, No. Idiot, the Uzumaki family was destroyed. Who would dare to use their real name? You should ask this question. Chinshua scolded him, and then chuckled. Is there anyone in your immediate family who has red hair like you? Red hair. Sasori frowned. My father has red hair. Thousand Snow was overjoyed. Yes, you must be from the Uzumaki family. Is there anyone with red hair from your family? Sasori sneered. Then I can recommend one to you. Sand Crypsis' Kazakage, and his youngest son also have red hair. It's not the same. Thousand Snow said. You only have a piece of your body left, but you can create a large amount of chakra, and even transform yourself into a puppet without dying. This is a sign of your strong vitality. Enough, Sasori interrupted. I have abandoned the part of me that belongs to the human race. Whether you are an Uzumaki or not, it has nothing to do with me. Seeing that they still wanted to say something, Aizen said, "Since Sasori doesn't want to say this, you don't need to force him. Moreover, I didn't summon you to recognize your relatives." Hearing Aizen speak, the four quickly quieted down. Although Lord Aizen was usually easy to talk to, he was very scary when he was serious. Especially for these rootless ghosts, the pressure they had to bear in front of him was too great. Seeing everyone calm down, Aizen pointed to the puppets beside him and said, "These puppets were prepared for you. Go in and take a look." "Puppet? Is it useful for us to go in? You can't control it at all, right?" Although they were confused, they didn't dare question Aizen's orders. They each entered a puppet. In the next moment, those puppets sat up from their beds and exclaimed in disbelief, "It's actually a perfect fit? What's going on? It's just like a real human body. No, this is even more suitable for us than a human body. Indeed, I don't feel any repulsion. Because it is a puppet. Naturally, there is no rejection between the soul and the body." What's more ingenious is that the puppet given life by the Grand Tensigan is essentially a creature with only consciousness and no soul. Why couldn't the human puppets made by Scorpion work? The reason is that they are inanimate objects just like a wall. The soul can only pass through the wall, but it can't merge with the wall. Because the soul itself doesn't have a physical body, only real life is the most suitable vessel for the soul. It's amazing. I didn't expect that we would have a body one day. It can give life to puppets. How terrifying is that? The four were shocked, but they were even more in awe of the mysterious Lord Aizen. Looking at the four people who were surprised and cheering, Sasori's originally calm heart suddenly became turbulent. Their souls can stay in the main world forever? Aizen nodded gently. In theory, yes. Sasori took a deep breath. Wood Leaf's second Naruto once developed a forbidden technique called Edo Tensei. It can summon the souls of the dead back to the main world and give them an indestructible body. However, this technique has a drawback. That is, the sacrificial offering is alive before the spell and can be used as a container for the soul. However, when the soul is summoned, the sacrificial offering as the container will also die. It is just that a special spell is used to pin the soul and the corpse together. Not long after, the summoned soul will return to the underworld. Aizen laughed. You are a Sand Crypsis ninja, yet you know so much about Wood Leaf's forbidden technique. It seems that you have thought about this before. Sasori didn't argue but continued. Only the living can be the vessel of the soul. Although Nidaime Hokage has developed the Edo Tensei, which uses living people as sacrifices, the limitations are too great. It can be used as a war consumable, but it's impossible to resurrect the dead permanently. But today, after seeing them, I have a new idea. What if we use these puppets, which are between living beings and puppets, as sacrifices? In theory, it is possible. What? Is it really possible? Seeing Sasori's indifferent eyes become hot, Aizen laughed. I have some understanding of the Edo Tensei. The summoned soul can't stay in the main world for long, mainly because the body used as a vessel dies. But these puppets are endowed with life, so even if a soul is inserted into them, they won't die. It's really possible. Sasori muttered in shock. Not to mention him, even Uzumaki F4's eyes were burning. Doesn't that mean that we can resurrect the dead at will? Can our Uzumaki clan be revived in this way? Revive? Don't be so whimsical. Aizen shook his head and said, First of all, this isn't a resurrection. It's just a permanent residence in the main world in the form of a soul. It's impossible to reproduce. Also, do you think that the underworld is unguarded? Using this method to steal souls, it's fine if there aren't many people. But if they break through a certain limit, even I will be in trouble. Hearing Aizen's explanation, the four looked embarrassed. So that's how it is. I knew that resurrection wouldn't be so easy. Is the underworld really guarded by a Grim Reaper? Wait, didn't our corpse demon seal intercept a lot of souls from the underworld? Hiss, the underworld's guardian isn't waiting for us, is it? Aizen thought to himself. Now you're scared? What were you doing earlier? Although it was a groundless guess, he had always suspected that the destruction of the Uzumaki clan was driven by the Six Paths. The reason was that their corpse demon seal touched the Six Paths cheese. Chapter 372. In his opinion, the underworld is most likely a private land of the six paths. In a period of 20 years, there should be about 15 to 20 Kage-level ninjas. In 1,000 years, there should be at least 700 to 800 ninjas. In fact, there should be more than that. Isn't an army composed of such ninjas more reliable than Kagaya's White Zetsu army? At least from the memory of his previous life, ordinary Kage-level ninjas can barely participate in top-level battles, and forming an army to attack together is even more useful. He even suspected that Otsutsuki Hamura quietly used the Grand Tensigen to make puppets on the moon. Maybe it was to collect the souls of these powerful beings for the Rakudo. In this sort of situation, borrowing souls like Edo reincarnation wasn't a problem, but directly intercepting souls like Corpse Ghost Fongjin was far too vile. What's worse is that the Edo Tensei is the trump card of the Uzumaki clan. It can be said that it specializes in killing strong ninjas. If it was 1 or 2 Shinigami, the six paths might be able to bear it. But the Uzumaki clan actually made 27 Shinigami. This is not only not giving the six paths face, it's simply pushing him to the ground. If it was me, I wouldn't be able to bear it either. Aizen thought. This is not a malicious speculation. In his opinion, the mainstream of this world is to sacrifice small families for the greater good. From Itachi's extermination of the Uzumaki clan, to Hashirama's killing of Madara, to Hagoromo's sealing of Kagaya. As long as it's for the sake of world peace, personal sacrifice is nothing. Masaki asked with some worry. Aizen-sama, will you be punished for forcibly summoning souls? Don't worry, Sasori's parents are just ordinary jonins. They don't constitute a problem. Aizen chuckled softly. Besides, I didn't say I would do it myself. Not to mention that he guessed from the Grand Tensigen that the six paths might have some scruples. Even if he didn't, the six paths wouldn't trouble an innocent person like him, right? Masaki was startled. That's true. Aizen laughed. After all, I didn't say I could use the Edo Tensei. I will send the puppet army to attack with Leaf, Sasori suddenly said. Then take advantage of the chaos to seize the Scroll of Seals. Seize the Scroll of Seals? That's impossible. Aizen shook his head slightly. Shimizu Garashi must have left the Flying Thunder God Jutsu in Wood Leaf. As long as Wood Leaf urgently summons him back. Can your puppet army last more than 3 seconds? Sasori 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 of the of Kages of the Kage, of the Sussis to deal. Scorpion's eyes instantly lit up. Ambush Naruto on his way to the Five Shadows Conference, capture Naruto alive, and have Wood Leaf exchange the Book of Seals for hostages. Aizen shook his finger. With Naruto's popularity in Wood Leaf, there will be rumors that he would rather die than submit. In the end, we will kill him. Scorpion was dumbfounded and asked, is that even possible? If you use Naruto to exchange for something else, they might just accept it. But with the importance of the Book of Seals and Naruto's popularity, it's unlikely they'll agree. Aizen shrugged. Scorpion hesitated. What if we release him, and let him come back with the Book of Seals to redeem his subordinates? Aizen smiled. Then you probably won't be able to wait for him to return. Scorpion's eyes widened. He didn't know much about the Dark Shinobi, but as Naruto, how could his character be so bad? However, he didn't think that Aizen would lie to him about this matter, so he couldn't help but feel depressed. Then what should we do? Oh, let's make it so that Wood Leaf can't deny it. Aizen smiled. For example, capture Naruto alive in front of the other 4 villages. In front of the other 4 villages? Scorpion was shocked. You mean during the Five Shadows Conference? Aizen smiled. What? You don't dare? Even if I bring all my puppets, it's impossible. Scorpion shook his head and said, although he was confident, he wasn't arrogant. If it's just Naruto, he might be able to do it. But in front of the other 4 Kages, and even the Kage guards of the 5 great ninja villages, it's simply courting death. Scorpion frowned. It's possible to persuade the Akatsuki to help, but they're currently in a dormant period. The possibility of persuading them to help me is too low. That's not necessarily true. Aizen smiled. The goal of the Five Shadows Conference is the Akatsuki. which means that the organization has already been noticed. Moreover, isn't the organization's main goal the bijou? As long as this goal isn't discovered, we can use some seemingly reasonable reasons to divert their attention. Seemingly reasonable reasons? Scorpion pondered. The truest lie is the truth. Why don't we use the idea of resurrecting the dead and redeeming the tragedy? On the one hand, this idea fits well with the secret organization, and it's not so easy to be suspected. On the other hand, maybe there are people in the organization who have the same needs as me? The reason is up to you, but I can lend you the 4 of them. Aizen smiled and pointed to the 4 who were watching the show. The 4 looked at each other with surprise in their hearts. Us. It's good to be able to move our hands and feet. They didn't dislike this idea. After all, Scorpion was one of them. In addition, these puppets have life, and they can be used as Edo Tensei sacrifices. You can also tell them, Aizen said calmly. As long as I'm not involved in this matter. What? You actually? Scorpion hadn't recovered from the shock of suddenly receiving 4 powerful helpers. But Aizen's words shocked him once more. What was this man trying to do? Seeing Scorpion's shocked expression, Aizen sighed. In order to speed up the process, I have to speed it up. However, I can't be the one to push it forward. Let Black Zetsu complete this mission for me. No matter what he thought, he still said, you should be able to do it, right? With the 4 of them increasing my authority in the Akatsuki. And a suitable reason, if I can't do it, then I'll be incompetent. Scorpion was silent for a moment. Then he said with determination, in the future, no matter what you ask me to do, I will not refuse. Us too. Whirlpool F4 hurriedly said. There's no need to be like this. I'm different from ordinary leaders. Aizen smiled. I like to give first and then take later. Only when your dreams have been realized and it's my turn, will you spare no effort to help me. Chapter 373. Hearing Aizen's words, Sasori and the Uzumaki were shocked. Indeed, although it was Aizen, Sama who allowed them to join the organization, he didn't get anything from them. Instead, he gave them everything. As he said, he will fulfill the dreams of his subordinates first. This kind of breadth of mind made them respect him from the bottom of their hearts. Scorpion compared the 2 leaders of atonement and void in his mind, then shook his head inwardly. Yahiko, Sama was too idealistic. He only talked about ideals with them. He never thought about what they wanted. If that was the case, it would be difficult for him to work for the organization. Only Aizen. Sama gave him everything he wanted. He could study the art without any worries or burdens, and he could recover from the regrets in his heart. After thinking for a while, Sasori asked, it shouldn't be a problem to persuade the Akatsuki, but there is still a major threat. Aizen asked calmly, you should be talking about the god of shinobi, right? Sasori nodded solemnly. Shimizu Garashi and Danzo don't get along well. It's impossible for him to use the flying thunder god on them. But if we don't end the battle quickly, there is still a risk of encountering him. After all, that man is too strong. Even if we send more than half of our people, we can't defeat him. Not to mention there are other strong people in the 5 Kages conference. The only one who can compete with him is Nagato. Sasori said and shook his head. But they probably won't let the Rinnegan appear so early. The Uzumaki team also looked at Sasori. In the past 3 years, they had a general understanding of the situation in the ninja world. They naturally knew how strong the man, who was called a god before 20 years old, was. Don't worry, I will find someone to help you. Aizen said calmly. You mean someone who can stop Shimizu Garashi? Sasori couldn't help but ask. Aizen responded with a smile. Although there may be some gap in strength, it shouldn't be a problem to help you block Shimizu Garashi for a while. Hearing this, 1 man and 4 demons were shocked again. Being able to block Shimizu Garashi for a while means that the other party has stepped into the inhuman realm. But such a super strong person was casually summoned by Aizen-sama. How many more terrifying forces were hidden in the hollow they belonged to? I know what to do. Scorpion nodded, and then looked at the few people at the side. Since everyone is here, let me explain the functions of these puppets to you. First is the outer shell. Whether it is in terms of hardness or resistance to various elements, It is enough to give you a great advantage in terms of defense. In addition, the fingertips of both hands and the throat are equipped with poisonous needles that can be shot at any time. The shoulders can shoot missiles, and the eyes can shoot lasers. The four old antiques were stupefied. Missiles? Laser? What is this? Seeing Aizen's inquisitive look, Sasori explained. Nagato used his ability to create a doppelganger. The doppelganger carried a lot of high-tech weapons he summoned from another world. When I was repairing his doppelganger, I copied those weapons onto these puppets. Psychic. Aizen nodded. His memories from his past life told him that the Shura realm's weapons were connected to another world. But there was a very strange thing. Shura's weapons didn't need to be loaded with ammunition. They seemed to be powered by chakra. If it was another world like my previous life, then his weapons shouldn't have anything to do with chakra. Maybe I should find a chance to ask Nagato. While Aizen was deep in thought, Sasori said to the four. As for the power of these weapons, you can go outside and try them out. But remember to remove the traces after you try them out. A man was still a teenager until his death. For these three dead people, after obtaining this body, they couldn't control the burning soul in their body. After all, they just died young. It didn't mean they were old. Soon, there was an explosion outside, and their excited voices were heard. Amazing, my missiles are super powerful. Is this a laser? It's so cool. Even Chinshue, the only female among the four of them, had the urge to join in as well when she saw them having so much fun. While they were shouting, Aizen looked to the side and asked, Sasori, can the pacifists be loaded with Kekkei Genkai? Sasori was silent for a moment, then gave an affirmative answer. It can be done. Then he touched his chest. Just like my regenerative core, it contains all my life information. As long as it's fired, the puppet that receives it will become a new me. If I can turn the heart of a Kekkei Genkai into a regenerative core and install it on a puppet, the puppet with Kekkei Genkai will be complete. Aizen shook his head. I want a puppet army with Kekkei Genkai. If I kill one person for each puppet, then the efficiency is too low. In his imagination, the pacifists should be loaded with Kekkei Genkai. It didn't matter if the firing speed was slower, as long as the power was retained. His future enemies would at least have the Rinnegan. Enemies at this level can indeed absorb chakra, but they can't use it actively. If they don't use it actively, they will be injured. However, Rakuto-level creatures are beyond the scope of ordinary life. They don't have the weakness of ordinary ninjas. Just like Madara, he can withstand Gai's Hashimen without dying. Therefore, ordinary attacks can't pose a threat to them. In this case, the best choice is naturally Kekkei Genkai. Anyway, no matter what kind of Kekkei Genkai he uses, the hit rate is very low against Rakuto-level enemies. Even if he manages to hit them, it's just a scratch. Therefore, it's better to sacrifice the hit rate and use Kekkei Genkai to threaten the enemy. Even if he can't hit them, there are so many puppets that can use Kekkei Genkai. Hearing Aizen's request, Sasori frowned. In theory, it can be done, but it requires a deep understanding of cloning and Kekkei Genkai. Cloning and Kekkei Genkai? Aizen said calmly. I will find talents in these two fields for you. Any other questions? No. Sasori couldn't help but sigh. As expected of Aizen-sama, not only can he stop Shimizu Garashi, but he can also provide top researchers. The Hollow is far more mysterious and powerful than he thought. Chapter 374. Would leave Hyuga Mansion. What? Yunin has withdrawn the ultimatum? The Hyuga people were surprised and happy. Garashi asked me to inform you in advance, Mizuki said calmly. Although Yunin's notice hasn't arrived yet, it should be soon. Great. The Hyuga people cheered. Although they could guess that after Garashi came forward, as long as Yunin's people weren't stupid, they wouldn't insist. But they still didn't expect that Yunin would be so cowardly. In any case, Yunin is one of the 5 great ninja villages, and even has the power to suppress Wood Leaf to become the strongest ninja village. They didn't expect that Yunin would give in so easily. Thinking of this, Hizashi sighed. As expected of Garashi-sama, he actually suppressed Yunin with his own power. Niji was so excited that his little face was flushed. waving his little hands and worshipping. Compared with the trash Naruto who was suppressed by Yunin Garashi, Sama is the one who should be the real Naruto. Mizuki's eyes were full of praise. Little guy, your path is wide. Hayashi said gratefully. Mizuki Jounin, thank you so much. Mizuki shook his head. The person you should thank is Garashi. Yes, Garashi, Sama has helped us so much. Even when he was outside, he never forgot about us. After leaving the Hyuga mansion, Asuma put his hands behind his head and whistled discontentedly. Why did Garashi only send you a message and didn't tell us? Mizuki glanced at him. You don't know Sage Mode, so it's difficult for Garashi to communicate with you remotely. Huh, Sage Mode has such a function? Guy exclaimed on the side. Of course it's true. Mizuki calmly covered up the fact that he and Garashi communicated through dreams. Speaking of long-distance communication, Garashi's dream world should be updated to cross-server communication soon. Red Eyes looked forward to it. Yeah, we might be able to meet more often in the future. Mute said expectantly. As they chatted along the way, they suddenly heard a group of children discussing excitedly. Have you heard? The crisis of the Hyuga clan has been resolved. Crisis? Are you talking about Yunin Village's ultimatum? That's it. The people of Yunin Village did bad things and wanted to threaten us. Naruto dared not intervene. In the end, it was Senior Garashi who stepped in and made Yunin admit defeat. Senior is super powerful. I want to be like Senior in the future. Not only the children, but the adults on the street were also discussing excitedly. How delightful. We should have taught those bandits in Yunin a lesson long ago. Garashi, Sama is so cool. He rushed to Yunin Village alone and made the powerful Raikage withdraw the ultimatum. Humph, how dare they not admit defeat. Garashi, Sama is the god of ninja. Hearing this heated discussion, everyone was a little dumbfounded. Wait, didn't we just come out of the Hyuga clan? Isn't the news spread too fast? How did it spread before us? He naturally knew that Mizuki was a man who dedicated his life to preaching, and he was willing to accompany him to carry out the task at such a time. Garashi said that the most important thing is always the people. Mizuki said as he looked at Ryoma. Moreover, that Naruto, Sama underestimated our faith. He thought that if we were not in with Leaf, no one would stand up for us. Senpai. Kakashi was touched. Even if Senpai was not in with Leaf, he would still be taken care of by Senpai. Hey, this bastard. Ryoma's voice was cold. Be careful, don't die outside. Huh? You can't be thinking of colluding with Kirin to frame us, right? Mizuki's face was sad. It seems that I have to inform Garashi in advance. If we die, remember to avenge us. Ryoma's face under the mask turned green. If they accidentally died, would they blame it on him? Chapter 375. In a hidden room, Asuma and the others gathered in a circle. Looking at Kakashi, they exclaimed, Rin is not dead? Shoo. Kakashi shushed them. Keep your voice down. Guy wondered, why are you so nervous? Kakashi looked serious. In case Kirin knows that Rin is still alive, and may even affect the birth of a new Jinchuriki, they will spare no effort to assassinate her. Relax. Asuma patted him on the shoulder. This is with Leaf, the enemy can't come in. Even if it's 1 in 10,000 risk, I don't want to take it. Kakashi's voice was heavy. And is there really no danger in with Leaf? Hearing him speak so seriously, everyone who was happy because of Rin's news also calmed down. You're right, that guy Danzo can do anything. Everyone be careful, don't leak Rin's news. Seeing everyone exhorting each other, Kakashi was relieved and sincerely thanked them. Thank you everyone. What thank you, everyone? Rin is also our friend. Shizen said with dissatisfaction. That's right, it's too much to hide Rin's news. We were sad for a long time. Kurenai also said angrily. By the way, you secretly hid Rin. But you didn't do anything to her, did you? Asuma poked him in the chest with his elbow. Kakashi was speechless. What kind of person do you think I am? Of course you're a pervert. Guy said matter-of-factly. Last time, I saw you secretly buy a book with color. Kakashi's old face blushed. That's studying. How can a scholar be considered a pervert? After a while, Everyone finally calmed down from the inexplicable excitement. Mizuki asked, Kirin has a lot of strong people, and we participated in the killing of the Mizukage. It's not an exaggeration to say that we have a deep hatred for Kirin. In this case, it won't be easy to snatch the Sambai from them. Are you sure you don't want to contact Garashi in advance? Kakashi hesitated for a long time, and finally shook his head gently. No. Didn't you say that Senpai is tracking a group of very dangerous people? Even Senpai thinks it's dangerous. We shouldn't disturb him. Guy nodded seriously. Yes, we can't always trouble Senpai. We have to play some role. Although the strength gap between us and Garashi is big, we can still be regarded as strong in the ninja world. Asuma said. As for the Mist Village, it's just at the bottom of the 5 great shinobi villages. We don't necessarily have no chance of winning. The most important thing is that our tacit understanding isn't something the Mist Village can compare to. Everyone secretly nodded. In the past, Sand Crypsis and Kirin were tied at the bottom of the 5 great ninja villages. But in recent years, Sand Crypsis has been developing rapidly, while Kirin has been in a mess because of the policy of the Blood Mist Village. In this case, it's not impossible to snatch the Sambai from Kirin's hands. On the side, Kurenai suggested, I heard that there is a force inside Kirin that is resisting the Mizukage, and there are rebellions from time to time. Should we contact this group of rebels before we act? I think it's okay. The Sambai is not as important as the stability of the village, right? Shizun nodded in agreement, but immediately hesitated. But will the rebels in Kirin really cooperate with us? If we capture the Sambai, won't we be betraying Kirin's interests? That depends on how unpopular the 4th Mizukage is in the village. If the threat of his continued existence exceeds the loss of the Sambai, then it shouldn't be difficult for Kirin to make a choice. Mizuki said in a deep voice. Kakashi nodded slightly. In short, let's try to contact them first. 2 days later, Kirin Village, bordered soil, wearing a black trench coat with red clouds, leaned on the windowsill, looking at the drizzle outside the house, lost in thought. Suddenly, an aloe head came out of the ground. Looking at the rain so openly, you seem to be slacking off. Bordered Soil asked without looking back. Am I slacking off? Black Zetsu laughed twice. You don't seem to care about the capture of the Sambai. Bordered Soil was silent for a moment. It's just the Sambai, no need to pay attention to it. The Sambai is recognized as Kirin, and this time the resurrection location is near Kirin. Normally, no one should bother us, of course. We can take our time to capture it. Black Zetsu paused and then said, but this time is different with Leaf. Naruto seems to want to send some people away from the village, and specially arranged the task of capturing or killing the Sambai. Some people? Bordered Soil's eyes suddenly sharpened. Your former good friends, including Hatake Kakashi. Black Zetsu laughed. Kakashi? Bordered Soil's eyes were complicated. One moment he missed, and the other moment he hated. Black Zetsu didn't urge him, quietly waiting for him to recall. After a long time, Bordered Soil asked in a hoarse voice, have they arrived in Kirin? Black Zetsu laughed. Not only have they arrived, but they also contacted the rebels. The rebels? Bordered Soil's eyes flashed a touch of vigilance. Among those people, some of them suspect Yagura. They must be completely eradicated. He originally intended to develop Kirin as a transition to the future of the Akatsuki, but his control still aroused some suspicion, forcing him to carry out bloody suppression again. As time went by, the number of rebels in Kirin was increasing. It seems that your old friends are very interested in the Sambai. Black Zetsu asked. Do you want to close the net in advance and seal the Sambai as soon as possible? Bordered Soil didn't care about what Black Zetsu said about sealing the Sambai, but asked, you said they are interested in this matter. Black Zetsu laughed. The most interested one is Kakashi. The others seemed to want to refuse the task at first, but he insisted and accepted it. Want to kill the Sambai to avenge Rin? Bordered Soil's eyes were complicated, and suddenly he was furious. What's the use of thinking about this now? Can Rin come back to life? Humph. You want to pretend to save yourself. I will never let you do as you wish. I will let you live in pain and guilt for the rest of your life. Black Zetsu sighed helplessly. This kid is at it again. Then what are you going to do? Bordered Soil sneered. Speed up the capture of the Sambai, and let them in at the last step, then seal the Sambai in front of him. I want him to never be redeemed. Superfluous, Black Zetsu thought, but he asked, won't they see through this? It doesn't matter if they see through it. Kirin has an irreconcilable hatred with them. Bordered Soil said indifferently. Even if they see through it, they will only think that Yagura deliberately led them into a trap. No one will think of me. Chapter 376. A blood-curdling scream suddenly rang out from within the hazy fog. The smell of blood filled the air, and even the mist was stained with a trace of blood. Are you kidding me? Even Shimizu Garashi couldn't kill me. I didn't expect that I would die in the hands of a nobody like you. The watermelon mountain pufferfish looked at the man who used to be his subordinate in disbelief. Ghost Mermaid was silent. It was the first time he knew that the old captain was so humorous. Why did you betray Kirin and contact the rebels and Wood Leaf's people? I was saving Kirin. That man will take Kirin into the abyss sooner or later. Ghost Mermaid stirred the hilt of the sword with both hands. You'd better say these words in hell. The pufferfish snorted, and his breath was completely weakened. Ghost Mermaid pulled out the hilt and put it back to his waist, then picked up the weapon of the pufferfish. This is the big sword shark muscle? Sensing the huge chakra in his body, the shark muscle wriggled a few times and rubbed his palm intimately. Even the weapon will betray. Ghost Mermaid sighed in his heart and turned back with a cold face. Those rebels may have found out the problem. We must return to the village as soon as possible. Although it was not the first time that they were saved by Ghost Mermaid, looking at his inhuman face, several ninjas of the Secret Signal Department nodded embarrassedly and did not dare to approach him. Only a female ninja with a sweet smile took the initiative to step forward. Thank you for saving us again, Mr. Kusanagi. Your ninjas of the Secret Signal Department have important information. I can't let you fall into the hands of the enemy. I'm just doing my duty. After that, his eyes suddenly became cold. They're coming. Let's go. Seeing Ghost Mermaid jump to the tree, everyone followed him in a panic. However, how could these civilian ninjas of the Secret Signal Department keep up with Ghost Mermaid? Before they ran far, the distance between them was widened. Behind them, Kirin's radical ninjas had caught up. The last few ninjas of the Secret Signal Department shouted in panic. Ghost Mermaid, come and save us. You're the one who protects us. You should stay behind. Ghost Mermaid slightly frowned, then stopped and turned around. Seeing the Ghost Mermaid come back, they immediately let out a sigh of relief. You stay here. We will tell the Mizukichi-sama about your achievements. Let's go. Don't even think about running away. As he spoke, dozens of Kirin ninjas caught up. It's her Empress Shomiai. Looking at the female ninja, who was the leader of the rebels, Kisame quickly calmed down. There's trouble. He's a genius ninja who has developed 2 Kekiai Genkai, lava release and boiling release. It's already difficult for him to deal with him alone. Not to mention the other elites of Kirin. The few people who fell behind saw the enemy chasing after them, and hurriedly fled forward. Needless to say, there were already people chasing after them. Don't even think about breaking my defense. Ghost Merman wielded his muscles and fiercely hacked towards the enemy. You should be the one who can't stop me. Empress Shomiai puffed up her cheeks and cast a monster melting magic towards the Ghost Mermaid. Ghost Mermaid knew the power of Empress Shomiai's lava release and didn't dare to ignore it. But the enemy broke through his defense line. Damn it, I must make a decision as soon as possible. Ghost Mermaid turned around and jumped while making hand seals. Because the hand seals were complicated, and there were many disturbances, he had been hit several times by the enemy's ninjutsu when he finished the hand seals. Fortunately, his ninjutsu was finally completed. Water release, big explosion water shockwave. A lake that shrouded half of the forest instantly appeared. For the Kirin people who lived by the sea since childhood, water was naturally not a problem, but their speed was still affected. Ghost Mermaid didn't have time to deal with the injuries on his body and rushed forward at the fastest speed. The few people who fell behind before were entangled by the enemy and were seriously injured in a short time. After Ghost Mermaid arrived, he quickly killed the rebel ninjas. Several people in the secret signal department breathed a sigh of relief. "Take me away." Before they finished their words, Ghost Mermaid pulled out a short knife and cut their throats like lightning. Several people covered their throats. Their eyes were full of disbelief. Why, aren't we companions? There are too many enemies. I'm not sure I can stop all of them. And my task is to protect the information, not you. After dealing with them, Ghost Mermaid caught up with the team again. But this time, he was at the back to supervise the others. As long as someone was physically weak and fell behind the team, he would come forward to deal with the hidden danger. When they escaped to the end of the forest, there were only 2 people left in the secret signal department. Ghost Mermaid, because he was at the back, attracted all the enemy's firepower, and his body was covered in dirty blood. Looking at the turbulent river ahead, one of them asked nervously, "What should we do now?" For a civilian ninja like him, it was okay to walk on water normally, but it was too difficult to walk on such a turbulent river. "I'm sorry. What's wrong?" The ninja of the secret signal department opened his eyes wide in disbelief and looked down at the blade that went through his chest. "You bastard!" Ghost Mermaid ignored his resentment and turned to look at the last person. The last one who stayed was the only one who was not afraid of him, and even thanked him, Lane. Perhaps he was worried that he would regret it, so Ghost Mermaid didn't even give her any chance to speak, and directly and accurately stabbed into Lane's body. But unexpectedly, not only did he not see hatred in Lane's eyes, but they were full of pity and sympathy. Looking at Lane's eyes, Ghost Mermaid was puzzled. "You don't hate me?" He could understand the hatred in the eyes of the companions he had killed with his own hands. But he couldn't understand Lane's expression. Blood dripped from the corner of Lane's mouth, and she shook her head with a smile. "I just think that such a life must be very hard, Mr. Yamato." After that she closed her eyes. Looking at the dead Lane and his bloody hands, Ghost Mermaid doubted himself for the first time in his life. Is such a world really right? Before he could be confused for long, the pursuing troops caught up again. Empress Shomiai looked at the 2 people lying on the ground and shook her head. "You chose to kill your companions, so cruel. The essence of a ninja is to complete the task. I'm just abiding by my duty," Ghost Mermaid said and jumped back. "If you want my life, catch up." Seeing Ghost Mermaid jump into the river, a Kirin ninja asked, "Empress Shomiai-sama, should we chase after him?" After pondering for a moment, Empress Shomiai shook her head. "His water release is very strong, and it's not good for us to fight in the water. Moreover, he killed all the members of the secret signal department, so it's useless to chase after him. Let's go back and see if anyone is still alive." When everyone left, a tall figure came out of the forest. Looking at Lane, Aizen sighed. How rare. With Ghost Mermaid's appearance, there was someone who liked him, and she didn't even complain when he killed her. This must be true love. Aizen bent his finger, and a little green light fell on Lane like raindrops. I'm curious, can you be the chain that binds the shark? Chapter 377. Half a day later, Kisame returned to the village and met with the Mizukichi at the secret place. Mizukichi-sama, Watermelon Mountain Fugu betrayed Kirin and tried to give the signal department to the rebels. They have all been killed by me. Hearing Kisame's report, the childlike fourth Mizukichi turned around. Watermelon Mountain Fugu is a trial I left for you, and you didn't let me down. Trial? Yagura smiled. A trial to see the truth of this world. Kisame frowned slightly. Mizukichi-sama, I don't understand. Only you, who have carried out countless dirty tasks for the country and the village, and even betrayed to complete the task, and whose hands are already stained with the blood of your companions, can understand that the ninja world is just a false existence. Kisame seemed to be touched by these words. He lowered his head and looked at his hands. I understood this when I killed my companions at the beginning. As a mist ninja, I have to kill my fellow mist ninja. What is the meaning of everything I insist on? What is my purpose? Where is my position? The only thing I can feel is my own falsehood. Since you've come to such an understanding, then welcome to be my companion. A man wearing a whirlpool mask and a shamate hairstyle came out of the darkness. I will find a place for you in this false world. Who are you? Kisame put his right hand on the hilt of the shark bone behind him. Bordered Soil opened his eyes. Like you, I am looking for the real person in the false. After all, to bring Kisame into the Akatsuki, in order to avoid the subsequent collapse of the image, he didn't pretend to be Uchiha Madara. Sharingan. I understand. The person I thought was the fourth Mizukage is actually you. Kisame laughed at himself. Then what is the meaning of me killing my companions? At this moment, as if lightning flashed through his mind, the memory that was sealed by someone suddenly opened, and Kisame whispered, So, everything in the world is false? Bordered Soil didn't care. Thinking that Kisame was shocked by the truth, he said, From now on, I will be your companion and create a real world for you. Ghost Mermaid looked at him with a complicated look, then smiled and said, I see. I will work for you from now on. Why does this look so weird? Although Ji-Hao was a bit confused, Bordered Soil didn't think too much about it. He only thought that it was the side effect of the Ghost Mermaid's emotional state. Good. I will tell you about my Moon Eye plan. Leaving the secret place, Ghost Merman raised his head and looked at the misty sky. The truth of this world is indeed as misty as the sky of Kirin. In a secret location, Black Zetsu emerged from the ground. Looks like he's the new companion you've chosen. But is it really okay to tell a newcomer about Yagura and the Eye of the Moon? Black Zetsu asked. Don't doubt those you use, and don't use those you doubt. Bordered Soil sighed with a complicated tone. This is what my senior once told me. Unfortunately, I have to use this sentence to destroy this fake world. At the same time, in an underground cave, I remember that the way to inform Milord is, Don't bother, I'm right here. Hearing this voice, Ghost Mermaid's back muscles tightened, but he quickly relaxed. He turned around and saw a half-naked man in front of him. It seems that you've made your decision? Aizen smiled. I lost. Ghost Mermaid sighed. You predicted this scene 3 years ago, and then sealed my memory at that time, so that I could witness it with my own eyes. At first, he did wonder if this was a collusion, but he quickly denied this conjecture. Both sides were stronger than him, and he didn't have the value to make them act. The most important thing is that the person who controlled the fourth Mizukage didn't seem to be lying, as if he really thought that he had everything under control. If this was an act, he could only admit that the other party's acting was too good. Thinking of this, Ghost Mermaid asked, I live in the fake world that the masked man created, and the masked man is living in the fake world you created. Aizen clapped his hands lightly. You're worthy of being my favorite person, seeing through the truth so quickly. Kisame couldn't help but take a deep breath. The masked man who was powerful enough to control the fourth Mizukage was just a chess piece living in the fake world. And he even thought that he was a god who could see through all illusions. Ghost Mermaid felt sad and funny, but more than that, he was shocked by Aizen's power and vision. This feeling was like looking up at the stars when he was a child. He was shocked by the vastness of the stars. Ghost Mermaid exhaled heavily. If it's Aizen-sama, you can definitely help me find the truth. However, Aizen shook his head slightly. You're wrong. The person who can help you find the truth is not me. What? The task is fake, the world is fake. But the people who really care about you aren't. They are the best proof that you've been to this world. The people who really care about me. Ghost Mermaid's eyes were confused as he recalled the woman who died in his hands. She was the only person who cared about him until her death. But in the end, he killed her for a fake task. Sure enough, people like me are only fit to live in a fake world forever. In such a whisper, a third person's voice sounded in the cave. Please don't say that, Mr. Kusanagi. Everyone has their own value and meaning. Hearing this voice, Ghost Merman turned around in shock, as if he was shocked by an electric shock. Aren't you dead? I killed you with my own hands. Lane looked at Aizen gratefully. It was Aizen-sama who saved me and gave me a new life. By the way, I saved the others too. Aizen smiled. Of course, They won't be as free as Lane, they hate you now. He knew that Ghost Mermaid didn't care about the lives of the others, but Lane cared. Since he wanted Lane to be the chain that tied the shark, he had to make her feel no guilt. Sure enough, hearing that her companions were alive, Lane relaxed a lot and looked at Ghost Mermaid aggressively. I know, Mr. Kusanagi, you're a very gentle person who always takes care of everyone. When the enemy chased you, you hurt yourself. Lane said softly. But you never live for yourself. You only treat yourself as a tool. It's too tiring to live like this. Seeing Lane's pitiful eyes and approaching footsteps, Ghost Mermaid was scared and stepped back. Wait, don't come over. Don't try to get close to me. He could kill people, but it was too difficult for him to deal with this situation. Lane blinked. Mr. Kusanagi, what's wrong? Ghost Mermaid was helpless and looked at Aizen for help. However, Aizen smiled and said, even a ninja should have their own life. A ninja is first and foremost a human, then a tool as you call it. But, if you really want a mission, then let me give you a mission. Aizen smiled. Try to communicate with Lane using human emotions. Chapter 378. In an abandoned village outside Kirin, the people who were called rebels by Kirin gathered here. Seeing Empress Shomiai, a group of people quickly surrounded her. Leader, did you catch them? For this leader who was only 17 years old, but her strength could already be ranked in the top 3 of Kirin, and her ability and character were very outstanding. They were very convinced. No, I underestimated the strength of that Kisame. Empress Shomiai sighed. I didn't expect that the last member of Kirin's 7 legendary swordsmen would die in the hands of his own subordinates. Hearing Empress Shomiai's words, everyone was half shocked and half sighed with emotion. I didn't expect that shark face to be so powerful. The name of the 7 legendary swordsmen is completely over. However, there are some unexpected gains. Before escaping, Kisame tried to kill the other ninjas of the Secret Signal Department to keep the secret. But those people were lucky enough to survive in the end, and they also expressed their willingness to join us, only hoping that we can help them get revenge. Empress Shomiai's eyes flashed with a touch of confusion. If only 1 or 2 of them didn't die, she could understand that Kisame's ability was not good. But all of them didn't die. This kind of thing was impossible. Empress Shomiai secretly thought. Unless someone followed us all the way and saved those who were killed. But what's the purpose of doing so? Could it be that the people of other ninja villages deliberately increased our real strength, so that Kirin's strength would continue to weaken in the turmoil? The others didn't think so much. After all, they didn't participate in the pursuit, so they thought that Kisame made a mistake in a hurry. Great, the information intercepted before can be deciphered. We can actually survive in the hands of the Umbu. It seems that even God is on our side. After the excitement, Ao lowered his voice and asked, Leader, do you really want to cooperate with Woodleaf and the others? His supercilious eye was obtained from Woodleaf during the war, so he naturally had his guard up against Woodleaf. Anyone he looked at was someone who wanted to steal his supercilious eye. Empress Shomiai nodded gently. The Mizukage is too strong. If we want to assassinate the Mizukage and change Kirin's fate, we must get foreign aid. Don't forget, the coup launched by the Kagaya clan with the other Kekkei Genkai clans was suppressed without causing any waves. Speaking of the Radiance Knight clan's coup d'état, everyone's expression turned solemn. Although those Kekkei Genkai clans were too reckless, the fact that they could easily suppress those clans shows the strength of the Mizukage. The 3rd Mizukage-sama must have never thought that the 4th Mizukage-sama, who took over from him, would destroy the Ice family. Yes, the 3rd Mizukage-sama is wrong. We were also deceived by that guy's appearance. Who would have thought that Yagura, who was so enthusiastic before becoming the Mizukage, was like a different person after becoming the Mizukage? But no matter what, joining hands with Konoha is still too unpleasant. Empress Shomiai looked around at everyone. Not to mention us, Yunin and Rock Crypsis also suffered a loss in the hands of Woodleaf. But now, didn't they also choose to forget their hatred? If we continue to be immersed in the hatred of the past, let alone revenge, it will be difficult to maintain the status of the 5 great ninja villages. Of course, we do have to consider everyone's feelings, and cooperation with Woodleaf will only be done in private. This time, the others didn't speak. In fact, they also understood this truth, but they didn't want to lose face. Seeing that they didn't continue to insist, Empress Shomiai was a little relieved. Let's go and meet our ally. A group of Kirin ninjas followed behind Empress Shomiai, trying to open their eyes, intending to give Woodleaf a silent deterrent. In another room, Kakashi and others were sitting in their seats vigilantly. After all, they were in the enemy's territory, and they didn't dare to relax, let alone talk about anything. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. Kirin ninjas led by Empress Shomiai came in. As soon as they came in, Kakashi and others were shocked. What's wrong with these Kirin ninjas? Is there something wrong with their eyes? Seeing Woodleaf's people were deterred, and didn't dare to speak, those ninjas who were trying to open their eyes nodded with satisfaction, and one of them said, "The leader has agreed to your request, but you have to show your sincerity," Kakashi said in a deep voice. "Didn't we also help you attract the Mizuki's firepower? This is a matter of mutual benefit." "It's not the same," Empress Shomiai said. "We originally planned to accumulate more strength before launching an attack, but cooperation has brought forward our preparation work. In addition, the Sanbai is an important force of our Kirin. If you get it, it will be a major blow to Kirin's strength." Kakashi frowned slightly. He didn't want to wait for a moment, but no matter how anxious he was, he could only calm down and ask, "What do you want?" Empress Shomiai said seriously, "I want a promise from Shimizu Garashi to help us defeat the Mizuki." Kakashi refused without thinking. "Impossible, we can't help Senpai make a decision." "Then there's no way." Empress Shomiai sighed. "Your value is far less than Shimizu Garashi." At this moment Mizuki suddenly said, "We agree." Asuma and others looked at him in disbelief. "Mizuki, Mizuki said calmly. "Before I came, I asked Garashi, and he guessed the conditions you might ask for. And this is one of them. I agree." "Senpai." Kakashi was moved. Senpai is still the same as before, like the will of fire. Even if they can't see it, he can still shine on them. As expected of him, Kirin was secretly shocked. They didn't expect their thoughts to be completely guessed by him. Looking at the shocked and awe-inspiring expression of Kirin, Mizuki secretly thought, unlike the 4th Mizuki who hates Woodleaf, these people should be the pro-Woodleaf faction, or the pro-Garashi faction. If one of them can become the 5th Mizuki, maybe Kirin will become the same as the San Crypsis. The attitude of the other villages seems to be useless, but he heard from Garashi that there is an undercurrent behind the calm of the ninja world, and it is likely that in the future, all the villages will unite. Although Garashi's original intention was to let him prepare in advance, he thought of another level. For a son like Garashi to only shine on Woodleaf is really a loss to the ninja world. For the future of the world, I should make more people aware of the importance of light. Empress Shomiai was also excited. Great, Kirin can finally be saved. Shimizu Garashi is an enemy, of course she can't sleep and eat well, but as a teammate, he is really reliable. P.S. Sorry, the alarm didn't wake me up, I overslept. The 3rd watch will be tonight. Of course, the 3rd watch will be in the early morning. Chapter 379. On the surface of the sea near Kirin, the Sanbai roared in pain as thousands of chains bound it. The chains were engraved with jutsu, and under the activation of chakra, they formed some kind of formation. Mizuki-sama's formation is too powerful. Even a monster like the Sanbai can't break free. Yeah, I didn't expect it to be so easy to capture the Biju. These Kirin ninjas whispered while looking at the figure standing on the back of the Sanbai. Their eyes were full of awe. At this time, a Jonin stepped on the sea and jumped towards Yagura with a panicked expression. Although he knew what was going on, Yagura pretended to be puzzled and asked, "What's wrong?" The Jonin jumped on the turtle's back. "Mizuki-sama." The rebels suddenly started a large-scale attack on the village. Yagura's eyes were dignified as he said calmly, "Take 2/3 of the people here as reinforcements." 2/3. The Jonin was surprised. But you. With me here, even if there is only one person left, I can seal it. Yagura's voice was full of confidence. Go. Don't let those rebels take advantage of you. Yes. The originally bustling and crowded sea quickly became spacious and empty. Yagura stood on the turtle's back and looked at the sea with no sadness or joy in his eyes. Only 1/3 of the people left. Are you going to make a move? Sure enough, in the distance, several figures rushed at a very fast speed. Their movements naturally attracted the attention of the Kirin ninjas. It's Woodleaf's people. Damn, why are Woodleaf's ninjas here? At this time, Yagura's voice spread. These Woodleaf's ninjas should be here to snatch the sambai, go block them. Everyone was hesitant. Mizukichi-sama, about sealing the sambai. The seal is almost complete. I alone am enough to deal with the rest. Yagura said this. They naturally didn't insist. They took back their chakra and rushed towards the Woodleaf's ninjas. Water release, water dragon bullet technique. Water release, water shockwave. The ninjas who can participate in the capture of the sambai are at least chunin, and there are dozens of jonins. With the help of the water, they gathered together like a wave. However, when the wave of water rushed towards the Woodleaf's ninjas, it was absorbed by a figure standing in front of them. Nether release. Be careful. It's the monster with 3 Kekkei Jinkai. Try to use water to wrap the power of the sea. He can only absorb water made of chakra. However, the Woodleaf's people didn't want to attack. After the first wave attack, several ninjas behind Mizuki's chakra rushed quickly. Genjutsu dark. Fire ash. Wind release, great breakthrough. Most of the ninjas, the jonins, were worse and S of darkness. The jonins who quickly woke up joined forces to use the water wall technique, using a large area of water wall to block the approaching flames. But at the same time these jonins used the water wall, a strange green figure broke through the water wall and rushed in with a strange cry. If Kurenai, Asuma, and Kakashi were using ranged attacks, then Guy was attacking the Kirin ninjas who broke free from the Genjutsu and tried to wake up the others. Damn, this guy is too fast. Although the ninjas could react, their speed couldn't keep up. Plus they had to deal with the enemy's attack. They were a little flustered. Hundreds of Kirin ninjas were suppressed by a few people. This kind of tacit cooperation is expected of you. Yagura stood on the turtle's back and calmly looked at the battle below. His right hand grabbed the iron rod and drew a circle of water in the air. Water release, water mirror technique. In the next moment, several figures rushed out of the ripples on the surface of the mirror. It was the appearance of Konoha's people. The people who came out of the mirror quickly rushed to the battlefield. Oh, is this a clone of me? Seeing his clone, Guy was excited. Let me see how powerful I am. With Leaf's whirlwind strength, Guy jumped high and rushed to the other side with a flying kick. The clone on the opposite side did the same thing. Their right legs collided in the air in an X shape, causing a burst of whirlwind. After a moment of stalemate, both of them jumped back at the same time. He has the same strength and speed as me. Guy was surprised but immediately excited. But can you use this technique? Hashiman Tanka open. After all, it wasn't a life and death battle yet, so Guy only opened the third gate. Even so, it allowed him to possess strength and speed that far surpassed that of his clone. After all, the clone wasn't a real human. His body didn't have the concept of the Hashiman Tanku, so he could only look at Guy dumbfounded. This technique is beyond his level. After a flying kick, the clone turned into a splash of water and scattered in all directions. On the other side, Asuma and the others were also facing their own clones. Although they didn't finish the battle as quickly as Guy, they quickly gained the upper hand. On the one hand, the mirror technique couldn't completely copy their strength. On the other hand, the combat experience and cooperation of these clones were far inferior to the original, so naturally they were quickly suppressed. In their respective battles, Kakashi quietly circled behind Yagura while dealing with the clone. He raised the forehead protector covering his left eye, and the 3 tomo in his pupil rotated rapidly, finally turning into a large windmill pattern. Kamui. The space behind Yagura began to distort, as if it was going to swallow him. The consumption of eye power made Kakashi's left eye painful, and it even bled, but he didn't care at all. He just stared at Yagura. It's going to succeed. But the moment the space vortex formed, Yagura dodged to the side. What? He dodged it. Kakashi was shocked. His Kamui could distort space to attack, and it was difficult to defend against it directly, but his opponent dodged in a blind spot. Is this Kage's strength? Don't underestimate Kage. Yagura laughed contemptuously, and then drew 2 circles in the air. From these 2 water mirrors, 2 more clones of the crowd walked out. 3 replicas? How did this guy do it? Kakashi and the others were shocked. This water Kage who was killed by Garashi was actually so powerful. After the shock, they all realized one thing. This time they were in trouble. Their original plan was to break through the encirclement as quickly as possible, then use their clones to support the 4 violet flame formation, and then just surround the enemy. But now, they didn't even have time to get close to Yagura before they were blocked by the mirror technique. What's worse was that those who were controlled by the illusion were already showing signs of waking up. Although Kurenai could still use the dark sneak technique, but after being prepared and experienced, the effect would only get worse and worse. The scales of victory seemed to be tilting towards Kirin's side. Chapter 380. Kirin Village was filled with the sound of fighting and shouting. Bordered Soil was sitting leisurely in the corner of the village, unaffected by the chaos around him. In front of him, there was a rippling water mirror. The mirror showed the battle on the sea in the distance. You want to use my eyes to attack me, Kakashi? You really haven't grown up. Looking at Kakashi, who was called a genius since childhood, showing a shocked look in front of a puppet controlled by him, Bordered Soil was very happy. Work harder, try to please me, and then I will crush your efforts bit by bit. Just as Bordered Soil was madly fantasizing, Black Zetsu's voice suddenly came from the side. The situation has changed. Bordered Soil frowned and asked, What's wrong? Black Zetsu sighed. It's Akatsuki. Akatsuki's people are here. Bordered Soil couldn't help but laugh. What's there to worry about? They are all on the same side. Bordered Soil's face was a little dark under his mask. He remembered that his companions didn't know that he was the one controlling Kirin. Thinking of this, Bordered Soil asked, What's going on? Black Zetsu sighed. Didn't you ask me to find out why those who should have died in the hands of the demon hunters didn't die? Bordered Soil asked in a deep voice. Is there a connection with them? Black Zetsu nodded. It's Aizen who saved those people. He is responsible for the conflict between the rebels and Kirin. Kakuzu and Raiga are also here. They are responsible for capturing the Sanbai. Aizen. Bordered Soil wasn't surprised that Aizen could save those people. After all, even Yahiko was saved by him. However, why does this guy always ruin my business? Bordered Soil was depressed. That bastard is like his nemesis. Aizen saved Yahiko. He couldn't pretend to be Uchiha Madara. Senpai saw through his aura. He had to become the masterpiece of 2 men. This time, he brought people to cause trouble for him again. Damn it. Why didn't they hold a meeting for such a big matter? Aren't they afraid of exposing the organization's goal? Black Zetsu explained for them. If it's just capturing the wild Sanbai, it shouldn't make people think of the bijou. After all, capturing all the bijou means starting a war with the shinobi world. And it's extremely difficult. Most people wouldn't think that the Akatsuki has such a big ambition. Bordered Soil calmed down and said, Actually, this isn't a bad thing. Anyway, catching tailed beasts is our goal. It's not a big deal to give it to Shao in advance. You decide, but Black Zetsu reminded him. Don't make it too obvious. It'll be bad if someone finds out. Don't worry, there won't be a problem. On the surface of the sea, 2 sneaky figures were hiding under the water, only revealing their heads. It's time, Raiga said. If Woodleaf's people lose, no one will help us pin down Kirin. Kakuzu said concisely. Go. After that, the 2 directly dived into the water and approached the Sanbai. The Sanbai, with half of its body submerged in the sea, naturally noticed the 2. Seeing them approaching it, and even taking out a scroll that made it feel very dangerous. The Sambai roared fiercely. Yagura didn't know what was going on. He picked up the iron rod and hit the turtle's back. Be quiet. However, Kakashi was careful. After noticing Sambai's movements, he reluctantly opened his Sharingan and looked under the sea. There's chakra flowing. Kakashi was surprised and shouted, "Not good, someone is sealing the Sambai under the sea." The battlefield suddenly became quiet for a moment, and both sides subconsciously looked under the sea. Yagura couldn't pretend that he didn't know anything. Damn it, you thieves dare to steal the Sambai. Water release, great whirlpool. Under his control, a huge whirlpool suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea, like a black hole, sucking in the objects under the sea. Raiga was presiding over the seal written in advance on the scroll, and after noticing the whirlpool, he gestured to Kakuzu. Kakuzu didn't say a word and rushed towards the whirlpool. A mask appeared on his left shoulder. He opened his mouth and spouted a powerful water cannon directly penetrating the whirlpool. Then, without stopping, Kakuzu rushed out of the sea. Grudge, final shot. 5 masks gathered on his right arm at the same time, and at the moment he rushed out of the sea, he condensed a terrifying chakra beam and shot it towards Yagura. What is this idiot doing? Yagura didn't dare to face the power of the beam directly. He cursed in his heart and quickly retreated. Although he didn't want to fight with Kakuzu, Kakuzu was like entangling him, using various compound ninjutsu to bombard him, making him suffer. The Mizukage is this kind of trash? It's not that powerful. Kakuzu couldn't help but ridicule him. Hearing Kakuzu's ridicule, Yagura couldn't stand it anymore. Idiot, I've been tolerating you for a long time. First, he summoned a water mirror to block Kakuzu's attack. Then he used various water release ninjutsu. Although it's only a single water release, in his hands, it's not inferior to the compound ninjutsu. Kakuzu's face was slightly dignified. That's more like it. While the two were fighting, some Kirin ninjas abandoned Wood Leaf and jumped into the sea and rushed towards Raiga. Seeing these strange and familiar faces, Raiga grinned. You dare to disturb me? Did I leave for too long and make you forget the fear of the 7 legendary swordsmen? Although he may be at the bottom of the group, he's still very strong outside of the group. Raiga bit the scroll in his mouth and waved the lightning sword with both hands. His body rapidly rotated. Lightning burial, lightning feast. With his body as the center, lightning spread along the sea like a whirlpool. Kirin ninjas who dived into the sea were electrocuted. Their eyes turned white, and they sank to the bottom of the sea with white foam coming out of their mouth. Because of the lightning sword in his hand, even if they were in the water, Raiga wasn't affected at all. While the 3 sides were fighting, the sea suddenly violently rolled. As if the god of the sea was angry, a monstrous wave hundreds of meters high was set off. Even Kirin ninjas who dealt with the sea all year round were scared to death seeing this scene. What the hell is going on? Is this an S-class water release ninjutsu? Impossible, this is definitely not something that can be done by humans. Quickly hide in the sea. Even Kakuzu and Yagura's pupils shrank when they saw this scene. What the hell is this? Suddenly a voice sounded. Wait, why isn't there a wave on Wood Leaf's side? Hearing this voice, the people who were still on the sea subconsciously looked in the direction of Wood Leaf's group. They saw that the wave seemed to be divided, and it just happened to break where they were. No, this is Sage Mode. It's Ryuchi Cave's inorganic reincarnation. Yagura suddenly reacted and shouted, Don't jump into the sea. But he was still a step too late. More than half of Kirin ninjas had already dived into the sea to avoid the waves. In the next moment, the sea seemed to have a life of its own and turned into chains, catching all the ninjas who jumped into the sea. Chapter 381. While they were still in shock and fear, the 100-meter-high wave finally hit them. Use the water wall to protect yourself. Don't have any contact with the sea. Yagura shouted, hearing the Mizukage-sama's order. Everyone who was shocked by this scene finally reacted and hurriedly used the water wall jutsu. However, not everyone can use water release, and not everyone's water wall jutsu can block such a monstrous wave. When the huge wave poured down, The sea in this area suddenly shook a few times. Ah, we can't stop it. Damn it, how long will this wave last? In the midst of these panicked screams, more than half of the mist ninjas were slapped into the sea and instantly controlled by Kuroto. When the wave passed, everyone who was still on the sea was gasping for breath, looking at the man with purple eyes in the distance. Their hearts were full of fear. Monster, Woodleaf's people are all monsters. Didn't they say that he's just a subordinate trained by Shimizu Garashi? Are you kidding me? Even his subordinates are so strong. How powerful is Shimizu Garashi himself? In one attack, they lost 4/5 of their elite forces. This kind of overwhelming power made the rest of the ninjas almost lose the courage to resist. Suddenly, the sea was turbulent. The blue sea turned into wriggling tentacles, binding those who escaped into the sea, and sent them out of the sea. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to develop a religion in Kirin, Mizuki could completely suffocate them, or control the sea to crush them directly. However, the Senjutsu chakra really consumes a lot of energy. Mizuki barely supported his body and pretended to be calm. If you still want their lives, give us the Sanbai. Everyone didn't die. Hearing Mizuki's words, the rest of Kirin's ninjas were surprised and happy, looking at the Mizukichi-sama standing on the turtle's back with expectation. However, after a moment of silence, Yagura said, I will never give the Sanbai to Woodleaf, the murderer of Sandaime-sama. Hearing his words, the rest of the Kirin ninjas felt their hearts turn cold. Asuma couldn't help but sneer. You killed the third Mizukichi's whole family, and you want to avenge him? Yagura remained unmoved. They betrayed Sandaime-sama's will. Even if Sandaime-sama is still alive, he would agree with me. Asuma's lips twitched. Agreed with you killing his entire family? Shueimu shook his head and looked at Kakuzu. What about you? You don't intend to take your companion's life? Kakuzu looked at Raiga, who was tied up in a shameful position by the sea tentacles and attacked. Earth's grudge final shot. Shueimu didn't expect the other party to be so decisive and ruthless, completely disregarding the lives of his companions. Caught off guard, the tentacle binding Raiga was instantly severed by his chakra beam. After escaping, Raiga didn't fight back against Woodleaf and the others. Instead, he cursed at Kakuzu. Bastard, are you trying to kill me? It almost hit me. It's your bad luck if you die, Kakuzu said coldly, and then looked at Shueimu. Sure enough, you must be very tired after using that kind of jutsu. How much chakra do you have left? Yagura looked at him coldly. You don't even have the power to kill them now, do you? I was almost fooled by you. Damn it. They saw the flaw. Shueimu was helpless. Although his combat power was very high, he still couldn't compare with these old guys when it comes to combat experience. After all, I'm not a real genius like Garashi. After this thought flashed in his mind, Shueimu's eyes became firm again. If you want to save them, go save them yourself. After that, most of the sea tentacles directly dissipated, and the unconscious Kirin ninjas fell into the sea. Not good, they will drown. Hurry up and save them. Without waiting for the Mizuki's order, the remaining Kirin ninjas hurriedly jumped into the sea to save them. Soon, only a few people were left on the surface of the vast sea. Oh, why is there a small number of Kirin ninjas left on the sea? Kakuzu was puzzled, but suddenly he heard Yagura shouting. He's using wood release to absorb their chakra. Hurry up. You don't want Woodleaf to get the bijou, right? Kakuzu was silent for a moment and followed him. The seal scroll was lost, and neither of them is good at sealing. In this case, letting Kirin get the Sanbai is indeed the best choice. After all, it's much easier to snatch the Jinchuriki from Kirin than from Woodleaf. Thinking of this, Kakuzu decisively released the thunder spear from his mask and shot it at Shueimu. Lightning release, false darkness. Next to him, Yagura used water bullets to attack his trapped subordinates. Kakuzu, Yagura glanced at him. Idiot. He can use nether release. It's useless to attack him. Kill my subordinates so he can't absorb chakra. Kakuzu was surprised to find that his thunder spear was absorbed by the enemy. But this guy is really ruthless. He doesn't hesitate to kill his own people. Looking at Yagura vigilantly, Kakuzu once again used lightning release. False darkness. Of course, This time he attacked the trapped Kirin ninjas. On the other side, Raiga was being beaten by Kakashi and the others. If it was one-on-one, he may have some advantage, but 5 against 1, the difference is too big. In just a few seconds he was in danger. Bastard, someone come and help me. If you don't help, I'll run away. Raiga shouted without any psychological burden. He has already run away twice. It's reasonable to do it again. This guy has nether release. It's impossible to kill him. And it's difficult to enter Sage mode in a short time. It's better to deal with the others first. Kakuzu explained, then turned around and left. Looking at the two people rushing towards them, Kakashi's heart was burning with anxiety. After all, they are near Kirin. The longer they delay, the worse it will be for them. In the distance, Empress Shomiai stood on the shore with dozens of ninjas. They are really powerful. A mere 6 people can fight to this extent. If those two hadn't interfered in the battle, they might have already won. Empress Shomiai said seriously, I'm going to help them, if they die here. Not to mention the agreement, Shimizu Garashi is likely to vent his anger on Kirin. Hearing that Shimizu Garashi might vent his anger on them, everyone was a little scared. Then let's hurry up. We must not let our allies die in front of us. Amidst the harmonious voices, Ching asked with a conflicted tone. But didn't we agree before that the cooperation can't be made public? How can this be a cooperation? Empress Shomiai laughed. We're not helping with Leaf deal with Mizukichi-sama. We're capturing Raiga, who betrayed Kirin, and bounty ninja Kakuzu, who assassinated many politicians. Ao suddenly understood. So that's the case. I understand. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.